Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you guys are. Guys, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button as always, guys. There's breaking news. Anthony Joshua will be fighting Jermaine Franklin at the O2 Arena in London. Jermaine Franklin is a solid guy. He gave Dillian White a good fight. Some people thought that he beat Dillian White. But having said that, the fight has got a lot of criticism, and Anthony Joshua, people are giving Anthony Joshua a lot of stick. They're really going at him, saying that this is a joke fight, and why is Anthony Joshua coming against Jermaine Franklin? Like, I don't really understand that. I mean, I don't think Anthony Joshua at this point is at the peak of his powers. And what I mean by that is that he's not exactly high on confidence. He's a champion. He's a guy that's really, if the public allowed Tyson Fury v Chisora, and yeah, people will say, well, Tyson did get a lot of criticism. However, but Tyson Fury is the WBC champion, and I don't think he got as much criticism as what AJ is getting to fight Jermaine Franklin. And Anthony Joshua has taken a couple of losses. So, I mean, I don't understand this hate brigade towards Joshua. I think Joshua is in a situation now where I think it doesn't matter what Joshua does, he's going to get criticism. I mean, Eddie Hearn's right that look, Jermaine Franklin gave Dillian White a very tough fight, and many felt that he beat Dillian White, but yet that's somehow a crap fight for AJ, and AJ will knock him out, this, that, the other. But yet a lot of people think AJ is no good and AJ is not this. I mean, this is a tough fight for Joshua. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him down. I mean, Joshua looks so vulnerable at this point that anyone's a tough fight. And after Franklin's performance against Dillian White, you won't be surprised if Franklin gives him trouble, because Joshua is so fragile at this point. You don't know what could happen. You could end up losing to Franklin. So I don't think people should underestimate Franklin by any stretch of the imagination, because Franklin can fight, and he's not going to be an easy fight for Anthony Joshua. So I don't think people should underestimate Franklin's Franklin in this fight, especially with where Joshua is at in his career. I don't think this fight should be overlooked or underestimated, and I'm pretty sure AJ will not be underestimated. Now, we know that AJ has left Robert Garcia. He's probably training with, I think there was reports that he's training with Virgil Hunter. There was reports that he was going to be working with Virgil Hunter before. We know that Buatsi trains with Hunter, but I heard that he was training with Jamal Charlo's trainer, Derek James. And is that falling through? At the minute, AJ, I mean, it's just all over the place with AJ. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You just don't know what's happening. AJ seems like a little bit lost. Dillian White mentioned this, that AJ looks a bit lost. I kind of feel the same way. I don't know what's going on with his career at this point, that he does seem a bit lost. But AJ, he needs to get through this fight. And then obviously you can look forward to fights with Dillian White, and hopefully we can get the Fury Wilder fights. Are those fights going to happen? The Wilder fights and Fury fights? I'm not optimistic. Most importantly, I'm like I said, I think AJ at this point, we need to take it fight by fight, because AJ is so vulnerable at this point that anything could happen in any of his fights. He looks so vulnerable. And I know Eddie Hearn's trying to promote him and trying to say, oh, this, that, and the other, he's going to come back, this, that. But every promoter does that. But Joshua just looks like a shell of himself. The confidence, the mentality, he just doesn't look the same guy. Now, can someone get the beast out of Joshua? I think there was always flaws in Joshua. He was always vulnerable. But I feel like those flaws have become more apparent now. And I think fighters are going in the ring not with that fear factor, knowing there's a vulnerability there. And his career kind of now is where people are giving him a lot of criticism. He's becoming, a lot of people are laughing at him. I mean, this Jermaine Franklin fight, it was a post put up on Facebook and it had a lot of laughing emojis. I mean, I don't think it's that bad a fight, personally. I don't know why people would criticize it yet. Derek Chisora and Tyson Fury fought. And really, Jermaine Franklin's tougher than Derek Chisora at this point. And people were all right with Tyson doing that. And I feel like AJ, he could fight someone like Jermaine Franklin when he's not a champion anymore. And AJ has got that freedom now where he can fight guys that he wants to. And I feel like, yeah, you still get criticism. What do you want AJ to do? Fight? Who do you want him to fight? Why is he getting criticism? And I've not been one of AJ's biggest fans in terms of I've brought to surface some of his flaws that I felt from, and I always felt that Anthony Joshua was vulnerable, but I feel like the criticism that he's receiving is a bit far-fetched. I think it's a bit too much. I think Joshua deserves a fight with Franklin in the sense that I don't even think that's an easy fight. So you can't even say that it's like it's a gimme. It's not. It's a hard fight, especially with where Joshua's at. I mean, if Tyson Fury was to be fighting Jermaine Franklin, I think I don't think you'd get as much criticism. But I mean, yeah, you can understand because Tyson Fury is the WBC champion, undefeated. He hasn't got anything going on mentally like Joshua has. Fury's not coming off losses. So you can understand why, if he was to fight Franklin, you give him some criticism, but not Joshua. Joshua's coming off losses. Joshua's got to rebuild. He's got to come back. If Joshua loses again, Joshua's career's over. So, I mean, of course, they've got to take it carefully. They can't just jump in because Joshua could end up getting beat. I mean, if he gets beat again, that's effectively could be him done. So, I mean, they've got to be sensible. They've got to be smart. They can't just put him in any fight. I mean, come on. They've got to be smart about things. So I do think the criticism is very unfair. I don't think it's right to criticize Joshua at this point because Joshua, like I said, is a vulnerable fighter. He is somebody that is fighting some demons. He is somebody that has taken losses. And he is somebody that looks a shell of himself. Not just physically, but mentally. There's a lot of things in Joshua's game that are, at this point, not the same as what they used to be. So I don't think Joshua should be coming under the kind of fire that he's coming under for fighting Jermaine Franklin. I think we need to see something in this fight. This is not a gimme fight by any stretch. Franklin can fight and it's a tough fight. If Fury was in this situation, we're looking at Fury's career, Fury would probably be fighting somebody that we've never heard of, like a Sefer Safiri or something. And whereas Joshua's coming back against a guy who's recently had a good performance in a fight, which a lot of people thought he won against Dillian Whyte. So, I mean, he's hardly not credible. He's a good fighter. And especially for a guy that's mentally, at this point, we don't know where he's at. I mean, he looks very fragile, looks weak. And Franklin's got fast hands. He's not a guy that you would want to come back to, especially with AJ. Franklin's the kind of guy that could give AJ some trouble. Now, do I expect Franklin to win the fight? No, I expect Anthony Joshua to knock him out and put in an emphatic performance. And if Joshua is the old Joshua, he should go in there and look to knock him out. But at this point in Joshua's career, I mean, you're no longer, before, when you see Joshua fights early on in his career, it'd be like, when is he going to knock the guy out? Now it's like, is that guy going to knock him out? He's become so vulnerable. And there's so many things. It's not just one thing. It's not just the fact that he can get hit and go over, the fact that he can gas. It's the fact that he's worried about things mentally. He's worried about letting his hands go. He's worried about so many different things. So it's not one or two things. There's many things with Anthony Joshua's game right now that there's physical weakness and mental weakness as well. It's more than one thing. So when you add all of those things up together, Joshua right now isn't in a great place with his boxing, where he is with his boxing at the minute. So I feel like Anthony Joshua fighting Jermaine Franklin is a good fight. I mean, anyone going in the ring with Anthony Joshua at this point, if you're a top 15, 20 heavyweight, you fancy your chances because of the way he's performed lately against Usyk and just before that, even against Ruiz, how he doesn't have that same killer instinct anymore. When he does have somebody hurt, sometimes he backs off because he's worried about gassing or he's worried about getting caught. You see, when you start thinking like that, that killer instinct goes because you're no longer worried about before Joshua used to go in the ring and he was worried about destroying his opponent. Now he's going in the ring worried about gassing, worried about getting clipped himself. So all of a sudden he's now got a more defensive approach where really Joshua needs to have an aggressive attacking approach for him to be successful. But he doesn't seem to have that anymore because he's worried about what could happen to him inside the ring. He's worried about he could get clipped. He's worried about what could happen to him. And that is why Joshua isn't the same guy that we saw previously. So that's the issue with Joshua, is the fact that he it doesn't seem like he's the same guy physically or mentally, and that's why Jermaine Franklin will be a tough fight for him. Jermaine Franklin is not going to be an easy fight for AJ. People that are giving him stick are just probably haters that will give him stick for anyone. Like I'm a guy that's been criticized AJ in the past, but I'm not going to criticize him at this point. I mean, why am I going to criticize him for a fight like this? I mean, this is a good fight, I think. At the end of the day, you've got to be fair. And you got to be fair across the board. I mean, Tyson Fury able to fight who he wants, and Joshua fights Jermaine Franklin, and he ends up getting criticism. What for when this guy's just coming off a good performance? I mean, it's hardly not a poor opponent. It's a tough fight. for Joshua, especially where he's at. He's come off losses. You know, he's not been performing great. So, I mean, it's a tough fight for him. So that's my take on it. That's my standpoint on it. Leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.